following material was performed under extreme mental duress and lack of prescribed medication.
You know, there's a lot more to comedy than what you hear on the stage.
I like the idea of comedy at night. Rule number 1, attack the audience verbally.
You know, my friends laughed when I started doing comedy, and nobody's laughing now.
I emptied my case. They didn't boo me or anything. It's just every time I came out from behind the case, another 10 people had left. Man, I was ready to hang myself. I'm not kidding, man. I measured the light cord in the room and everything.
It's The Green Room, a program by comics with comics where we talk about everything, and it's starting right now.
Welcome everybody to the Gene Room. That's right, the Gene Room. What we've done is stolen your host and the cute little letter R in it, and we've named it after me, guys. You know me, it's Gino Bisconti. Welcome listeners on iTunes, and everyone who had to suffer through the Monday morning spew the other day. I'm so very, very sorry. But for the loyal listeners, and I've become one myself in the past year because I'm a big fan of the man I am about to interview today. Your normal host, once every 200 episodes, he puts himself on the hot seat. And he just had a big taco breakfast and he just got off the other hot seat. Please welcome my good friend, your regular host with the day off. Please welcome Vilmos Broniuk, everyone.
Yes, I'm very nervous with this whole thing.
Well, welcome to the Green Room. I cannot thank you enough for stopping by. It's a cute little show we've been trying to get off the air. Look at you giggling already. I want you to save that and dub it in. But let me start by saying, I know this is only the second time you've been interviewed. And,
it is.
And I really enjoy hanging out with you. This is the second time we're doing a little run together. And it's an honor to be able to actually interview you and turn the things on you. So I think I'm in a great position to do so. Because after sitting in a 5, 6, 7 hour car ride with you where we were nearly killed by an Escalade, and I saw you wink at the guy, like, you know, I was on to you.
Like, nice
failed.
try?
Right, nice try. I said, do it in the middle of the desert where they'd never find his body. You're doing it right in front of a Sunoco station. Thanks, dummy.
And on the wrong side. They went after my side. What
like,
was that?
It's like I told you to kill the passenger. Anyway, great driving. You got us here as we sit here in our lovely, where the hell are we?
We're in an undisclosed location.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's like that Sopranos episode.
Location.
But let's get to you, Vilmos. Now, you've been doing this show 228 episodes.
That's right. This would be 228.
That's fantastic. So congratulations on that. Now,
thank you.
I'm sure all the listeners out there have questions for you because you sit there every day helping other people bear their souls. But let's talk about you. Let's talk about this show, your baby, 228 episodes. I think that's fantastic. I really do because it's obviously a passion of yours. But what goes into the preparation for each show? Like when you have a comic on, now you know me, but you get guys every week because you're interviewing comics for two places, the Laughs place in Tucson, which we just did, which was fantastic.
Yep.
And the upcoming gig we have in the next few days in Reno after we leave this undisclosed location. So how do you prepare for comics? Is it different for each comic, or what is your general show prep?
My general show prep is I basically research on the internet. Or if I've heard something about him, you know, because comics talk, you know, you'll hear whatever about a guy that he's got this quirk or that quirk. And that may or may not make it into what I'm going to do. But I usually prepare 4 to 5 topics.
Right.
And then I just wait to see how the conversation flows. Very rarely do I get all the topics in.
Yeah, you only need 1 or 2 good topics. And I've heard some really good interviews. I really enjoyed the one you did the other day with when you were talking. You interviewed that Canadian dude.
Oh, know? John Bueller?
And he wanted to choke you through the microphone. I think that's great.
He did. That's the closest. I said this on my Monday thing. It's the closest I came to really going after somebody. And I didn't. I mean, it was just I tried to give him a wide berth because I don't know the guy. And I didn't know why he was getting upset because to me they were innocent questions. Right. I was just talking about, you know, how hard it is for him as a Canadian to get, and he took it as you're asking me to disclose my personal shit, and maybe I'll get in some sort of problem because of that.
And I took it as you were actually, I thought you were slighting Americans in a way, saying we can go over there all we want. You know, we can walk in there with what's in the back. We have a bag of dog shit and a bag of dynamite. Oh, go right on through.
Well, and that's kind of the way it is, really. I mean, they want our money, don't they? Well, I don't know about the dynamics, but I'm assuming that's what it is. We have a greater population. They need tourism. They need things from us to make their place work. Look,
because the Raptors aren't working out.
Well, the Raptors aren't working out, and they're playing with funny money. I mean, their money isn't even all the same color. Thank you. There you go, Craig. That's one for you. My one Canadian listener.
Oh, I thought
Sorry.
I thought you said colored because we were talking about the Raptors.
No, they're not up there either. Now, see, that's a Gino Biscotti.
I like
that's
that you
what
just
Gino
said now because you wanted to ask a question, but it's not your choice to ask
No,
a
I
question.
did that because that's a Gino. That's
that's right.
how Gino Biscotti says period. Instead of period or ending a sentence, it's now, and then we go to the next topic.
As opposed to you who just stare them down and dare them not to like your joke.
Exactly.
You had to be in Tucson with us last week when he was screaming at some large woman who I think I ended up banging, but you're screaming, "Fatty! Fatty!"
I didn't do that, and you know I didn't do that.
I wish I'd taped that. All right, so you, I think, have become, and I'm a little edgy here because I used to do an interview show in New York, but I think, I'm a little choppy here, but
That's
I
all right.
appreciate your
You're
fans
doing
putting up
fine.
with it. I want to know, because you're a very good comedian. I really enjoy working with you. If you're near Reno, get out there for this week. It's going to be a great show. Me, Vilmos, doing some stand-up, gambling like crazy, and let's not forget Cuban hookers. But I want to know this. This is one of my questions I'm really excited to ask you. Do you consider yourself a radio host who does comedy, or do you consider yourself a comedian who happens to host a radio show?
I'm a comic that does a radio show.
Wow, you said that very.
I know exactly where my life is at, and I
Really?
would when I originally started the show, I wanted to use the show as a vehicle to make my own name, to promote myself.
Explain to me how you got started doing the show. How long had you been doing comedy, and what led to this?
Well, we started April 2008, and I was involved with Wits End Comedy Club in Denver, and I'd been thinking about this for a long time.
Where you were a booker. And
Where
I'm
I
sorry
was
to
a
interrupt
booker.
again, but I actually wrote in my notes. I'm like, when I wrote this, I'm like, he's never been a booker. He's never considered himself the booker at all. Even when you were booking shows, you didn't seem to enjoy that.
I like doing it in a very decent manner. You know, I tried to do it with giving the comics respect and letting them know where they were at and all that stuff.
But as a booker, you start to you don't understand where you're at. You don't know why people are talking to you. Are they your friends for gigs? Or are they your friends for?
That's an old story for me. I used to be a banker.
Yeah, me too.
I used to be a senior loan officer at a bank.
Really?
Yeah, nobody's your friend.
Yeah, no.
They're your. I shouldn't say that because I'm sure there were a few isolated people in my life that maybe had pure intentions.
When
but
did you
as a
stop
rule-
doing that? Wait, let me. You stopped doing that when a black and Spanish couple walked in and you screamed "next" at the top of your lungs. Next, we're giving money to people with
Look.
jobs and goals.
Look, I live in Florence, Colorado. No blacks or Puerto Ricans. So that's how you know that story's not true.
All right, I've taken you way off topic. I really want to get back to that
Okay.
because we can
So-
talk about how you didn't like being a booker, but you said
Right.
it. You were with Wits End.
I was with Wits End, and this is actually my second attempt at doing something in radio.
Mm-hmm.
My first attempt was something called the Hungarian Helpline. Well, it is.
Right,
You can
right.
find it on my website. There's 6 episodes.
I thought that was
Did you hear
right
'em?
next to the cheeseburger helper. You get the
Yeah.
Hungarian helper.
That's exactly right. Did you hear it?
No.
God, if we were on O&A, you'd have gotten a car crash for that.
Oh, I would have.
Now, so I'd done Hungarian Helpline for a while, and I think I want to say I did 50 episodes.
Wow.
They were only 1 minute. They were 1 minute bits. They were meant to be sent out to radio stations and have them play them.
Should have called
You
it
know.
the 1 minute Hungarian.
Yeah,
But
something
enough
like
about
that.
the lovely
But it
Shannon's
was
nickname for you.
yeah, funny. So it was something. It was something that was supposed to promote me.
Right.
And the goal of the show, aside from the fact that I like doing it, I really would like to be on radio. I won't lie to you about that.
You have a great voice for it. I'm not kissing your ass. I even wrote in my notes, soothing voice.
Really?
I'm such a huge fan of the podcast because I drive a lot. And thank you for turning me on to Stitcher. And I have the little MP3 thing. I hook it into my phone. And I catch up on 3 episodes all in 1 week. It's
Really?
fantastic. It's great.
Well, see,
and that's because your voice is so soothing, you know?
I don't think my voice is that great.
Oh, really?
I've been told more than once that I have a decent voice for radio, but the thing is, it just seemed to me that this was a way that I could probably promote myself out there and get myself going. And when I was doing the Hungarian Helpline, it just didn't really work very well because I didn't really understand how all that stuff worked.
What made you start doing the Hungarian helpline?
Well, because I wanted to have some, like I said, I wanted to have something to promote me. I couldn't figure out any other way to get involved with the radio business because I think I talk about O&A. I'm not a huge fan of O&A. I like the show. Opie and Anthony, for those of you that don't know the shorthand.
With the fantastic Jim Norton.
Yeah, and that's a guy who's really got exactly what I would like to have. He's third mic on the show. right? He can leave the show whenever he wants without taking away from it. He can add to the show when he's there, and he gets to go out and do great gigs on the weekends.
Yeah.
That's where I would like to be.
Well, it takes a certain type of comedian, which I certainly think you ought to do what Jim does. Too many comedians think that they'll be good on radio by jamming their face in the mic and just every second they get try to jam in a stock joke. And
Yeah.
you can't do that. And the greatest comedians like Norton, I think, and when Burr was on and Patrice, like they think of stuff on the air in that moment that will later become part of their future act. And Norton's fantastic at that because when you're on a show like that, and I think you'd be great at this. And this is why I do Pharrell a lot. Listen to Scott Pharrell on Sirius 101. Because you have to be able to know if you can get 3 or 4 great punches in, that's the best thing for the show and you.
Well, yeah, I call it sniper radio.
Yeah.
I mean, basically what I do the Todd and Tyler radio show out of Omaha, which is syndicated only in 5 markets. Not a big show yet, but they definitely could be a huge thing someday.
That wasn't one of the awful shows you made me listen to on the ride in yesterday, was it?
Oh, I loved all of those shows.
The Phillips File?
The Phillips File. That's a
People,
good
that is
show.
the worst show ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm including this one. So think about that.
I'm just telling you. So TNT, as they call it, it's a good show. When I go on there, I'm kind of quiet a lot, and then I get my shot in when I think I got something to say.
Right.
And then I think that's what Norton does. I don't think Norton is nowhere near the focal point of the show. No. They refer to him at times if they know he's got something he can pull out of the well and they need it. So that's what I like to do. I don't know in conventional radio, I don't know that I could pull a show on my own. That's one of the other reasons that I've been expanding the show here to do 5 episodes a week. And I'm up to. I did my big announcement yesterday, and I don't think you heard the show because I don't think your reception's that good.
No, I was
Or
listening to
you've been busy.
Philip. I was listening to the
Phillips File. Phillips File.
Please don't plug that show
Phillips
anymore.
File on XM 152. It's on at 4 o'clock Mountain Time. That would be 6 o'clock Eastern every day.
Look at you.
Now.
I really didn't enjoy it.
Good. I'm glad. In
share
fact,
a lot
I think
of
we'll be
similar-
listening to that all day
We
tomorrow.
share a lot of similar tastes. Like we stopped at the same strip club on the way in.
Did we?
Loved it. We loved it.
I think I dropped you off. I don't consider that stopping.
If you want to call that dropping off, whatever you want to call it.
Right. I think in some societies they call it a hot plate.
Right. That's
Now,
exactly- Go on.
so I felt like if I couldn't get onto a radio show, which I really have no idea even after all this I've done, I don't know how to approach to get into radio, and my understanding is very difficult. I just figured I'd do this because it seemed like the right thing to do. And then my other thing was I wanted it to progress to be a live thing at Wits End, which it never got to be for many different reasons. Mostly it had to do with my partner and his inability to be able to partition off the proper funds for things. But I wanted this to be a every Wednesday thing. We did the show after the Wednesday show, and then we'd pull out things like, the worst bit of the night, any heckler lines. We would record the whole thing and then just go over and drill down on, the shit that was really good.
That's great.
It would have been a great show.
Yeah, I used to do I don't want to say similar show because any show where you involve comics and comedy, that's a great show. And I used to do a similar show, which there's still clips of online, but it's off. I have to take it off. It was called It's Comedy People, where you would just have a comic do stand-up. You'd come over and interview him, not about the stock jokes and stuff, but about what goes into writing the jokes, which is a perfect way to bridge into my next question for you, and I love that you said it. You come off as a comedian who happens to do radio, and I like that, because you've been doing comedy since when? Now, you started the radio in 2008. But
92.
92.
It was the first time I went to a comedy workshop, actually 91, and in 92, I did my first 3-minute set.
Where was this?
Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Because you've lived all over. I know you've lived in Colorado. You've lived in Chicago.
Yeah, I lived in Illinois. I lived in California for a very short period of time. But, the majority of my life actually has been spent between Colorado, where I moved in 1986, and prior to that, Illinois. Those are the 2 places I lived.
So you get on stage. It's 1992.
Yeah,
Colorado.
right after the Super Bowl.
God, who was the Super Bowl that year?
I have no
I think
idea.
It was Denver and San Fran. One of the
Then
listeners
it would have been
texted.
93.
93?
One of the listeners texted, "What are you out of your
Just
mind?"
Leave a comment on. Do you have a comments page for this?
I don't, and it's one of the things I want to add. But you can comment on Facebook, but nobody does. I don't get really any comments. Facebook page has tendency to be mostly announcements. I would like to have more
or even
discussion
reply at
about the
Twitter.
show.
Reply at the Twitter page. That'd be fun.
That'd be fine too. I just don't get as much. I know I know I have a lot of people listening, but, for some reason or other, it has tendency to be more of a one-way thing. But really, I don't think it's any different than any other person that's doing a radio medium in the size that I'm dealing with. I mean, it's smaller markets and things like that. I would equate this, and I don't want to be too egotistical about it, but the show's about as big as probably something in a very small community, like Fremont County where I live. Mm-hmm. I have about as many listeners as they probably have.
Well, that's great, and I think there's something to be said. I was reading one of my comedians friends, Becky Donahue. She's out in, I think, Ireland or England now, Edinburgh, something, Scotland. But she brought up the concept of it. Yeah, in this market, this day and age, if you have 1,000 good fans, maybe that's what you need to go for more than like these Twitter pages that have 8 million followers. That's great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, that's great. But in the medium you're in right now, and let's be honest, we've talked about this on the 3 shows we've done. Where the hell is radio going? It's about to implode on itself between satellite and terrestrial and internet and podcasting and where you get live content. And I think in the medium you're in, you need to get 1,000 good fans, and they will spread the word more than any Facebook page or Twitter page or whatever the next platform is that comes along.
Yeah, if you can get them to, if you can motivate people to do that. I don't know. Maybe the future is, I haven't really thought about it a lot, but maybe the future of this kind of show is to go and become part of a collective with somebody else that's doing better. I know that Adam Carolla is doing it with he calls it the Ace Network, and he's got a couple extra shows. And I know Kevin Smith's doing it. His thing is called Smodcast, and I think he's got a network. So I think if you go to guys like this,
that's great. Yeah.
You have to have something to offer them, and the only thing you have to offer them is listeners.
Right.
So you have to have documentable. This is how many people are listening every period and all that stuff. And once you get your numbers up to a certain level, I think then you have some some goal. You have you have something to offer somebody that they may give you something for. Yeah. So at some point in time, I can do this relatively inexpensively and absorb pretty much all the cost myself. It's not really bad. Mm-hmm. But
I can't believe you have this all set up in a steam room here. This is amazing.
I know. Well, I did notice you enjoyed getting naked.
I did.
Now, see,
it was optional.
See how I did that? I said now because I wanted to go to the next thing.
I see.
But the thing is I think I could make some other choices on the show that come up. Maybe some sort of minimal advertising. It's not very obtrusive inside the show, or something off the website, or there might be something that comes up in the future that would allow you to do it through, I don't know. I can't imagine iTunes not figuring something out.
Well, I did listen to one of your spews a couple weeks ago where you did, and I think a lot of comics, myself included, are like that, because it's like you said it, like even when you bring up the thought of advertising, there's that fine line between, am I just doing this for the sake of art, or am I really going to just suddenly have to market it? Like, after a show when you try and sell stuff, is there, look, this is what I'm selling after the show, or do we, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this? And I think that's what you're kind of torn with this radio show. It's like, am I going to just start bashing down doors saying, listen to my show? Or at what point does it become, now I'm just more of a marketer than a radio host?
Yeah, and
he's actually a comic who's a radio.
I don't want to be a marketer. I'm not really good at it. I'm sure that somebody that has that kind of ability could do very well with it. On the other hand, a guy's got to make a living. And so that's why I've pretty much formatted this whole thing so that I could do this as well as do comedy, as well as do the other small things that I do to earn my keep.
Most embarrassing moment ever on the Green Room?
Oh,
228 episodes. You must have one that stands out.
You know what? I really don't. I'm not going to lie to you.
Where you just wanted to kill the guy, or it was the worst moment ever.
Well,
I shouldn't even say embarrassing. Just a moment that stands out where you're like, ugh, why do I even do this?
Well, I will tell you this, and I don't want to get into names.
I want you to get into names.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I want you to name names.
Nope.
I want you to make one friggin' enemy in your fucking life.
I got plenty of enemies. Let's not mistake that.
Make one
those
damn
I could
enemy.
list very easily.
All right, well, just tell me the episode number so I can check it later.
The episode was a couple years ago, and it was one of my comedy idols. One of the guys that when I was coming up, always
everyone search Green Room Carrot Top.
Never had Green Room on the show.
Never had Green Room on the show?
I never had Carrot Top on the Green Room. Sorry.
Keep stuttering through this, you failure. Go on.
The Carrot Top should be green. Really, but it's not.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So I had this guy on the show, and He's really one of the guys I looked up to because he had already had kind of a big name for himself and was working all the best clubs. No chemistry whatsoever. He just didn't get the concept of the show, and all he wanted to do was his bits.
Right.
And it just was really horrendously awful.
Of course.
Very painful.
Of course.
There have been a number of shows. If you guys really want to find out the shows that probably didn't go well, I'll give you the secret. There's no big secret.
Right.
Look for the shows that are shorter.
Yeah.
Because I don't bail
And
out.
that's the end of our show, people. Thank you very much.
See what you did?
By the way,
You
my
did what
last
I
show
said.
went over an hour. It was an hour and it was an hour and 52 seconds.
It was a long show.
It was. I was
did,
very
and it
pleased with
felt every bit of that, plus a little extra. Now, it was.
But what made the shorter shows are the bad ones, but what made...
They're not bad ones. They're just ones where, like, the chemistry's not flowing or the guy on the other end's not digging it.
Right,
You
I
know,
didn't
you
mean to
can
put
just
words
tell.
in your mouth, but so this was one of those short shows. What happened
No,
on this show?
it actually ended up being a regular length show because I hung in there with the guy.
Right, but he's just waka.
He's just more or less, and then he's doing his bits, and I'm trying to get into the, into the
Underpinnings
nuts and
of what
bolts
goes
of
on,
it,
yeah.
right? And he's just not going. So I could have ended it early, but I figured, I'll keep trying.
Right.
It's just like the John Bueller interview, and I said this anyway. After that happened, I could really feel the tension that he had.
Right.
And I knew that it was not going well. But then somewhere along the line, we turned a corner. And that ended up finishing very strong. Mm-hmm. So I was hoping for that with the other guy.
Never turned around.
Didn't happen.
But that's what you do. You're a very good host because I was saying that. We were having that conversation in our last episode, so you'd have to go to the Gino episode. But we were talking about that, how you steered it, because a great host does that. He's listening, but he's always looking for a way out if things are getting bad, an
I am.
off-ramp. And he's always looking for an on-ramp, once they get out of that mess, that pickle.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where the next question's going to be or what the next topic should be or where we're going to go. And sometimes I pass on some really great questions because we just ended up going too far away from it.
Right.
Which I hate.
Okay, well, let's do one more question about the show, and then I want to attack Vilmos the comic, and I didn't mean to attack. I want to ask, and this is a cliche question, but I want to ask you, because they always say, if you could interview if you could interview anybody on this show, and I don't want to say living or dead, but who's someone like anyone? They don't have to be appearing at either Laughs, Tucson, or Reno Catch a Rising Star, or the upcoming one you'll be interviewing for, which is...
Next one?
Yeah.
It's going to be Dale Jones.
No, I mean the next you'll be doing when you add a show.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Our next new club, our new affiliate, Motley's, I'm sorry. It's Motley's.
Feeding you a plug.
I'm sorry.
Feeding you
I'm just not thinking. Okay?
Feeding you a plug.
I'm not working right now. It's really what it is. I'm
I'm
not working.
well, you don't have to tell your
I'm just
listeners.
kind of sitting here.
You can
It's
interview-
Motley's comedy joint. Morty's. Did I say Motley's?
You said
Motley
Motley's.
is my friend Tim in Boston.
That's a great story.
He's a great guy. He really is. He was one of my mentors.
Really?
Yeah, he was. He truly was a great guy to me. It's
But congrats
Morty's.
on adding Motley's.
Morty's.
Morty. Oh,
Morty's
you said,
comedy joint.
oh, you said Motley's to me the other day too. So
I
it's
did, but
Morty's.
it's Morty's comedy joint in Indianapolis.
That's fantastic.
A really fine club.
When's
They're-
the first one of that one, Aaron?
Hopefully it's going to be. I think I saw it. I think on the calendar it's the last Wednesday of the month, which I think is around the 26th.
The last Wednesday of the month, actually 28th is the last.
Is that what it is? Okay,
So,
because I'm not looking
so
at
it'll be
the calendar
21
right now.
is Monday, Tuesday, 23rd. It'll be
Okay.
23rd.
So
There you go.
that's the first date I'm pulling for.
Mark your calendars, Green Room fans.
I did the announcement for it yesterday on yesterday's show, so
Great.
it should be good.
Oh, on the spew.
On the spew, which you didn't get a chance to listen.
My
to.
spew is all backed up
Yes, it was. It has been for many years.
because I don't have a DVD player for that
For the porno I gave you.
porno game, which is
Yeah,
fantastic.
I know. Did you know how long I've had that? About a year and a half.
And it's still wrapped in plastic.
Exactly.
You're gay. You're gay.
Exactly.
I mean, what are you looking at? Like, if I have a porno, I unwrap the plastic just to, put a
Just
fresh
to be
coat
close?
just to put a fresh coat of lacquer on the cover art.
I'm just saying, I don't like porno.
I can't-
It's totally wasted
I
on me.
can't have this conversation.
It's
with you.
completely wasted
Can't have
on
this
me.
conversation.
It really is. It's
I mean,
completely
don't get me
wasted.
wrong. I'm past Playboy. Oh, I get it. She's naked. She has big fake tits.
Yeah.
I'm past that. And Penthouse is ruined. They don't show penetration.
Really? Penthouse doesn't?
And all those other magazines are just ugh.
See, I know.
they're a
I
mess.
don't. None of that stuff. I just not interested, truly, in any of it.
Really?
I just don't have a.
You
I
must
just
have
don't have an
something
interest.
to do to relieve the stress other than the green room when you're on the road. Nice hotel room, some candles.
Look, I'm just
In
saying.
this room, you have a picture of an elk and an eagle.
I'm just saying. I don't have that kind of interest.
I'm just
First guest on the show, by the way, should be Kyle Grooms
Kyle Grooms
for Morty's.
fantastic. Love
So,
him. Very
do
good.
ya?
Yeah, we. I usually work the week after him in Anchorage. He's a fantastic.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay,
and probably
well,
one of the nice. Have you ever interviewed him?
No, no.
One of the
that's
nicest
thing
guys in the biz.
That's the thing about Morty's. Morty's is a completely different pool of guys.
I'm
Just
gonna-
like Reno, I was
I'm-
explaining last night. Everybody's different.
I'm going to give you a tip on Kyle Grooms, and everyone go check him out. He's fantastic. Before he got into comedy, you ready for this? Graffiti artist in Florida, I believe.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, follow that up. But he's fantastic and just fun to talk to. But get to it. You get to interview one person.
If
You'd like to interview.
if I was going to interview one person,
And of course, why? I don't want to name. You know, I'm just
no,
curious.
well,
what makes you
the
think?
biggest one that I would like to interview is, of course, Dead. I would have loved to have talked to George Carlin personally.
Really?
That would have been fantastic for
Yeah.
me. Because, he represents so many things that we as comedians aspire to do. He was a free thinker. He was able to express himself well. He was the total package.
Yeah. Just well spoken. Knew what he
Well-
wanted to say.
Well spoken,
broke new
intelligent.
ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a trailblazer.
He
If it
really
wasn't for
was.
him, they say how much Lenny Bruce did for comedy, and I'm not taking
Danny
anything away
Aiello
from.
has called me the next Lenny Bruce.
Is that right?
And that's the end of my plugs. I have
Okay,
nothing.
there you go.
And Montreal has called me not a single time.
Not a single time.
Not a single time, that
I'm
comedy
really sorry to
festival.
hear that.
Carlin.
But Lenny Bruce broke the ice definitely and took to a certain level. I think Carlin took the next step up the stairs.
Yeah.
And everybody did. From then on, I don't think there's really been a clear person. You might make the argument.
Seinfeld, I would argue.
Really,
I would argue. I mean, if you ask me a list of comics, this is the way I look at it, of groundbreakers that suddenly stretched the game, like tight end Kellen Winslow did redefine the position for the Chargers in the late 70s, early 80s. I would say you got your Lenny Bruce,
Right.
and then you got your Carlin, you got your Pryor, you got your Stephen Wright. I really think Stephen Wright took it a whole new direction.
Really?
I think you got your Seinfeld, and then I dare say the late
Justin Bieber?
Justin Bieber. Oh,
Is
speaking
he
of which-
next? Because he's famous for everything
Trust me.
else, isn't he?
I just finished him off in between the lacquer. And why can't I think of the guy that just died, the crazy guy? He's not crazy, but he OD'd. He talked kind of weird.
Not Geraldo.
No. Please, the guy that talked crazy was like an H name, and he's like an escalator.
name?
He's like an escalator is something that even when it's broken, it becomes a set of stairs.
I'm sorry, H name.
It
I
may
don't
not be
know.
an H name, and I don't know why I can't think of it. I'll think of it when I'm not thinking of it, but I also, and you can see what an icon he is to me, but I think he's the last one that really changed the game. He was really bizarre. And he just OD'd about 2-3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm
you
blank.
know what? When we're
But-
done, you can put it in like the liner notes because I'll look it up, but I can't think of it. But anyway,
Well, my list would be Bruce, and then Carlin, and then I would put Pryor in there, but more as an offshoot than a.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a fan, but I'm not. I don't put him nearly as important as the other two.
Well, I think
And then I would go. After him, I would probably also put Kinnison in that same boat as an offshoot.
Yeah.
Right. But then the next guy that was really pointing things forward, Bill Hicks.
Yeah,
See, I would put Hicks in there. But again, what I'm saying is those guys widened the path. I don't think they really went. I think they had forward movement, but they stretched it. They didn't push real far forward and really enlist or expand general boundaries.
Right.
In other words, Carlin went everywhere.
Right.
Kinnison went religion and that kind of stuff. Pryor did real justice to the black culture and minorities, right?
But see, that's just-
and Hicks was commentary,
But
brutal commentary.
But see, you're looking at it, and I love the way you look at it, but I'm taking it from a completely different view. Now, I like what you said about Kinnison, but see, I think Kinnison's more of an offshoot, and I think Pryor is just that. It's like Pryor took all the, as far as Carlin stretched it, and he said, look, I'm a black comic. And before that, you didn't really have black comics.
Right.
Like Flip Wilson was great, but he never stood out on his own, broke through, and
He-
said, "Look,
he worked
I'm
within
a
the
black
system.
man, and this right, and I'm outside, and this is where we're gonna go, you know, and I'm gonna like let guys like Chris Rock and Eddie Murphy, in some extent, and all these guys stretch a little further. But Pryor was the one I think that really stood out, and even as he struggled with things, stood behind who he was.
Yeah.
Carlin was great. Carlin just led this brilliant, ever smarter, ever deeper, ever cryptic life. And Pryor was the other one that just overcame all this stuff, had, tripped himself up, just kept saying, look, this is who I am. This, if I can really get off topic, that's why I've always liked Madonna. And I'll tell you someone else I like, believe it or not, Britney Spears.
Oh, I thought it was Justin Bieber.
No, I have to look at
He's next, right?
But look at Madonna. Look at Britney
What about the
Spears.
poster in your room?
That's not important. This isn't
Okay.
about me.
All right.
This isn't about me.
Okay.
This isn't about me.
I'm sorry.
And by the way, it keeps coming off the wall. Peculiar. Because people like them, like Britney, and that's right, Britney, and Madonna, they'll do something great, and they'll do something stupid, and they're never afraid to take one step, look back, and say, I did that, let's move on.
So would you put Lady Gaga in that? Or
No,
Lady Gaga
is-
in her egg?
She's an absolute joke. Lady Gaga is an absolute, she keeps pulling battleships out of her ass. She came out of an egg the other day?
Yeah, for the Grammys.
I can't do this.
It was an egg.
I can't do this.
It was an egg.
right.
I'm telling
Next question.
you. Now.
Great comic Jay Okerson said I'm a Battaglia comic.
Uh-huh.
And I said, what the hell is that? And he's like, every bit you end, Battaglia. Wrecked him, damn near killed him, Battaglia. What's up with the Puerto Ricans now? And isn't that great?
It's perfect.
You're a very direct comic, and I really, really appreciate you for that. Now, here's another question I really like, because one, I want to thank you, because every time I've been on, you've plugged like my writings.
You're a good writer. You're a
am.
fantastic
I
writer.
am, and yet I'm a lazy writer because, I know I have that gift in a way, and I think everyone could be a writer. You just have to have enough faith and trust in yourself to put yourself out there. Yeah, and I don't do it as much as I'd like to. I have a lot of stuff. It's going to be like the movie Seven when I die. They're going to come into the room, they're going to fucking unstick me from the Justin Bieber poster, and they're going to find dozens and dozens. I think I'm up to 13 journals.
Really?
Since my parents passed away, of just crazy, crazy thoughts.
But it's see, you have a real talent for it.
Well, thank you.
You really do.
But that said, and you can find out more about me at my website. What do you think you have one of those talents that you're underdeveloping? We all do this comedy thing, and it's great. It's easy in a way for people like us because all we do is think of stuff that's funny, tweak it a little bit, bring it on stage. But there's a certain discipline, that you need to do other talents like musical or writing or any. Do you have a talent aside from comedy or radio? Because I think these come to you easily. That you think if you just put a little more into, you could get a lot more out of.
Oh, actually, yes, probably. I mean, I'm a musician too, and I'm actually, I don't know if I'd call it accomplished, but I played in bands and all that other stuff.
It's definitely
And I play a couple different instruments and blah, blah, blah. But the one thing I really would like to do is I would like, and this sounds so trite, because I think it's almost very Gen X or whatever it would be, Gen X, Y, Z. I don't know what the fuck it is. But I actually have a book. I actually have a book in my head that I've been working on for a while, and I just don't spend any time on it. And I really feel like I could probably write a murder mystery.
Really?
Yeah.
See, you're scaring me because we're about to drive 15 hours through an uninhabited desert.
Exactly. I have the shovel in the trunk. A little Rohypnol.
You don't have the shovel
I
in
have
the
some
trunk.
Rohypnol.
You don't have the shovel in the trunk because we tried to put stuff in your trunk and you travel like a girl. What is in the trunk?
What is in the trunk?
By the way, listeners, if you don't hear me in 2 weeks, a very large duffel bags that I think are filled with T-shirts that he sells.
They are.
But they could easily be empty, burned, and filled with body parts. So
Dude,
there's a certain amount of concern.
I have no place to put the T-shirts at my house, so I just leave them in the back of the car.
Absolutely.
That's really the short answer.
Why a murder mystery?
Because I like those kind of books. Some of my favorite authors.
Did you
do
watch
that.
Columbo growing up?
I did, but it wasn't really enamored with it.
Oh,
I mean, I thought it was a good series,
Right.
And I like that kind of stuff. I like that genre. But I really had an idea.
Genre, everyone, is French for style. Ha ha ha.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
You're such a better host than me. I hate
I don't.
you. All right,
I
so
thought
go
it was
on.
very good. No, you're doing a great job.
Doing
It's
very
perfect.
well. It's an
perfect.
adjective modifying how I'm doing.
So I really have that's really something I would like to do.
But I want to talk more, and that's great. And I wish you luck with that because I'll tell you in this, I hope you write the book soon because you're going to eventually get famous, and then that's the problem. There's two avenues of books now. People that write really good books, and I'd love to know some of your favorite authors. We'll get to that. And people that just ride off their name and put out books. Snooki has a book out now.
Yeah.
I think Artie Lang, and I don't want to bash Artie. He's been through a lot, and he's a good friend of mine. He's a great guy. But I think his book, wouldn't have done well if he wasn't so famous. You look at the flip side, Jim Norton, I am not kissing his ass. Read his book. It is laugh out loud funny. It helps that he's a good name.
Yeah.
But Chelsea Handler's books, I think, actually are kind of funny. But you look at guys like Norton, and that's a genuine book from a guy that happens to be famous.
Yeah, he did one, Happy Endings, and the other one was...
Tales of a Meaty Breasted Nothing and Hello, I Hate You. Or
Hello,
something.
I Hate You.
And they're both very good books. They're laugh. I'll give you a line from one of the books I loved. It was his first one, Tales of a Meaty Breasted Nothing. He was talking about Bob Levy, great comic. He's just been doing it forever. Look him up at boblevy.net. And he threw his own benefit. And Jim Norton wrote, I'm at a benefit for my good friend Bob Levy. No, he doesn't have cancer. No, he doesn't have cancer. No, it's not in memory of his dead mother. Bob Levy is getting his third divorce. And given that he has the savings ability of an immigrant farm worker.
Oh, God.
I'm
That's
butchering
fantastic.
It's great. But that said, I want to get back to the music. So you've been in bands.
Yeah.
And I think it takes an incredible amount of ability I have no musical talent whatsoever. It bothers me. And I've tried. I took piano lessons and just didn't have either have it or you don't.
I think piano's the hardest instrument to learn.
I
I don't play piano.
But you say that, and how many people just, they sit there, they're like, oh, I learned, all the great ones, I learned by ear. You have that ear or you don't, and I don't. But what, instrument is your favorite, do you think that you're...
Oh, I like to play drums best.
Really?
That's what I wanted to play when I started, but my father, in his infinite wisdom, had me pick something quieter.
Really?
He didn't want my dad was a doctor, and he was stressed out all the time. And he didn't want to have a bunch of crashing and bashing in the house.
Right.
He didn't like
That's
loud...
that's what he had your mother for.
Exactly. He didn't like loud noises. I mean, he was so bad about that we used to go on vacation in a '63 Ford Falcon station wagon with no air,
right,
in the Midwest in the middle of the summer with the windows open.
Because he didn't want the wind noise.
No wind noise. So I actually started playing the flute. And I started with the flute, and then, of course, I learned all the woodwinds.
Right.
Because the fingerings are pretty close to the same. So I can play...
I've let woodwinds and fingering go. You get
exactly.
One more.
You get
one
if
more,
you
then
find the
you're
right woodwind, you can finger the hell out of it. Now, once you learn flute, then clarinet's similar. Saxophone, again, all kind of in the same group. You have to learn the difference between playing with a reed and without. And then I never played oboe because it's a double reed, and that's a whole nother issue. But then I went to big brass when I got into
So what kind of
school.
bands are you in if you're playing wind instruments?
No, I play drums in bands.
Oh, okay.
I'm a drummer.
Name some of the bands you've been in.
Oh, they're just local guys.
And you never took it to the
Okay,
next level?
but no. I played with the guys who play in Flash Cadillac.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but they live in my town.
Right.
They're right there.
You ever? Do you have a place in your?
And there's only one guy left from the original, and I think he was the roadie.
Right.
I don't even think he was one of the original players. I think everybody else left, and he's sitting there going, "Hey, we got all the stuff.
And then
what do we do now?"
They'll do a Flash Cadillac reunion.
Yeah,
It'll be like the
exactly.
roadie, some guy that played
and their ex-manager that they fired for taking all the money. It'll be great.
Make sure you keep an eye out for that.
Yeah,
All right.
It'll be on some unknown record label.
What do you have any room in your house where you still have the drum set
Sure.
up?
Oh, drum set set up all the time. When I'm home, I play 30, 45 minutes a day.
That's fantastic. Really?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
See, now that's something your listeners don't know.
No, they don't know that. And it's the nice thing about music is you play it for yourself. You don't have to play for anybody.
No.
To enjoy it.
Well,
we can be, as comics, we can sit there and write jokes all day long, and we can make ourselves snicker a little bit, and we can get a little bit of satisfaction out of writing a joke, but we really only get the true satisfaction is when somebody other than us laughs about it. So we need somebody to participate with us. Music, you don't need that. You feel the music, and you just play it.
But I would disagree without a doubt, with music. I think everything's like that. I think all true art, like the writing, we're validated when other people laugh, when other people like our music, when other people like our writings. But I think same with your radio show, you will go nuts. You can either do it for yourself, which I'm sure we're saying the same thing different ways. Like when you write a joke, it's great that it makes you laugh. But then you're validated once it makes other people laugh,
That's true.
Every
I
joke
guess
in
you
your
could call
act
it
started
validated.
out by making you laugh, There's very few. There's always a couple jokes where like I don't think this is funny, but the crowd likes it. But for the most part, every joke in your act is something that you liked first. Wouldn't you say?
No.
Really?
Because I've written jokes that I didn't particularly care for.
Tell me
I thought
one.
they were funny.
I had a joke that I hated.
I had a joke that I didn't even know why it was funny. For the first
That's most
year
of
and a
you said.
half.
After talking to you for 45 minutes, I'm amazed you know anything's funny.
Really? There you go.
No.
I had a joke that I didn't even know why it was funny and why people laughed until
Go on.
about a year. And then I got that big
I
moment.
want to hear that joke, and then I'm going to ask you an opposite question. Okay, tell me this joke. Why and what?
Well, the joke was when they came out with a female condom. I said, I just saw the female condom. I don't know. It gives me the urge to have a ham sandwich. And I had
people
no
liked
idea
it?
why that was funny, but
Right.
it was the image they put in their head.
Right.
To me, I just arbitrarily picked ham.
Right.
I could have said turkey.
Ham's a
I could
funny word.
have said whatever, right? Roast
Right.
beef.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been the same
Roast
because
beef is too graphic.
well, but ham gives you the pink color and
And ham is more
all that
harmless,
visual image.
And roast beef is too rough, and turkey is just it's
Well, I'm
boring.
really glad that you can analyze it to that
It's
point,
true,
but
but
that's
that's
not
what
what
we
I
do.
was thinking about.
But I'm
All I
telling
was
you
thinking
as a
about
listener,
what a name,
Right.
And if I would have been, because if I would have written the joke and actually thought it out and wanted to write it where I understood what it was,
Right.
I would have said ham sandwich with mayonnaise. Because that would have been the nasty,
But that would've-
disgusting one.
But that would have been a good tag. And then you could say afterwards, or I guess a ham sandwich with mayonnaise. You could tag that on.
See, yeah, that would be the Saturday night version.
Yeah.
Because I have jokes that they're a day, they're an early show, and then there's a late show version.
I love it. Like you said that on the ride up. You're like, because you did a new joke, and I apologize, I missed it. I was probably hitting on some whore in the bar. But you said, you're like, oh, I did that joke at both my late sets. That's a joke I do later, which is hilarious. 'Cause
I only do, I do a joke about how guys will go to bed with ugly girls just because they can. That's not the joke, but and then sometimes every once in a while I will leave it at that. Well, what I'll say is, a bag lady is just fine.
Right.
That's the punchline.
Right.
And I won't say anything else
And
on the
you
first
think-
show. But on a second show,
Right,
when it's
okay.
a younger crowd, I'll say, and some of you guys won't even take the bag off, which generally will elicit a groan, which then gets a response from me of, really, girls? I would think you'd be happy that I'm supporting ugly chicks getting fucked.
Right.
Which you can't say that on an early show on a Friday night.
But if you say it at a late show, it doesn't always work. Maybe there's a fat chick on the
No, it
front
almost
row
always
that-
works. I very rarely doesn't work.
But isn't
on a
that the
late show.
joke I'm alluding to that got that chick mad at you in the front?
Oh, no.
Oh, that wasn't the
no,
last-
she came up very early in the show. She came up because she was right after I got on this recorder. I'll find it and I'll tell you what it was because I was recording that show. But no, that was right after we took care of, as you put it, the milkshake homo, which was a fantastic way to put it.
Every now and then as comics we get a gift, and right in the front row, especially like you do rooms where it's well lit and you can see everyone and everyone can see everyone else, but
Yeah.
Laughs is a great room, and let me thank you again for getting me in there. Hopefully I did well enough to go back. And Daddy stayed sober the entire time.
I couldn't believe you didn't
No.
drink. You had one drink
My
at the
girlfriend-
end.
I had one drink at the very, very end after
Yeah.
all the shows, and I was about to leave, and we bought that birthday, paid
Yeah.
the pharmacist a shot.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I saw you every morning,
Yeah.
and you didn't come out stinking like,
No.
that you went home and drank a quart or something.
No, dude.
You did a great job.
Because my girlfriend's like, you're always drunk. I'm like, I don't have to be. People just send me booze.
You're fantastic.
I
You
enjoy
you were
it.
just did a great job.
All right, well, let me go the other way and by the way, I have a joke too that because for the most part, I think you write jokes you like, but
Yeah.
even the ham sandwich, I bet was like this joke. I used to do an awful joke about Jeeps, right?
Uh-huh.
But I had a throwaway line, I did once, and it hit. And I said, does anyone here drive a Jeep? And people, I'm like, and I would say, not like a Cherokee. That's how old this joke is. Before they had 9 other models. I said, not like a Cherokee, just a Wrangler. Stops on a dime, flips on a nickel. That was the joke. And people would go nuts because they stop on a dime and they flip so easily.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was funny. I'm not kidding. Like, I would literally do it, and I would look at whatever.
What are you guys, idiots?
I would literally look at a friend and be like, I don't get why this is funny. But we'll take it. We'll take it, and this is what I'm leading up to,
Exactly.
because this was always the signature question on my show. And here on episode 228, I can't thank enough. Every comic jokes, and this I tie into the Seinfeld. If you ever see the movie Seinfeld Comedian, there's one deleted scene. I don't watch deleted scenes. I happen to watch this. And I can't believe they deleted this scene because I think every comedian should watch this. Have you seen Seinfeld Comedian?
I have. I don't watch deleted
There's
scenes.
a
so I
deleted
didn't see
scene.
it.
I don't either, but I watched it, and Seinfeld Comedian was fine. But the deleted scene.
You gotta, pardon me, but
Please.
you gotta watch that with the commentary on, because
Okay.
him and Colin Quinn talking like two guys sitting in the condo watching a TV show.
Oh, really?
Dude, it's brutal. It's just brutal.
Oh, I love
and they're
it.
going after whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Ari, whatever, and they're just going after him
Oh,
the
I
whole
can't even,
thing.
it's not even his real name. Whatever. Whatever.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that's the way you really need to watch
But
it.
every comic, as much as we tell jokes that we don't think are funny, we're like this, screw this crowd. In the deleted scene, Jerry Seinfeld talks about a joke that he wrote that while he's on stage, he thought of it. He's like, jokes are like kids to us. And some of them, come through you while you're on stage. They're not even yours. They're just born of the moment. And he literally says, it's brilliant. He goes, they come through you while you're on stage, come out of your mouth and say, fuck you, I'm a joke and I'm going to be born now. And you say it and the crowd goes nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't even that I thought of it. The light, and I'm not trying to be like religious, but the light shone through you at the moment. But for the most part, he says, jokes are like children to a comic. They're like your babies and you want everyone to work. And the ones you love the most are the weakest ones. And he does this comparison. He's like, it's brilliant because they're like little birds that you throw out of the nest and you're like, fly, fly. But every time you tell
They
it,
just
it falls,
drop
you throw
like a rock.
He goes, it gets to the point where you put on a bird suit and you're in the nest flapping with them. Go, go. And no matter what you do, it sinks like a fucking stone, but you don't care because it's your baby.
That's fantastic.
And everyone has a joke like that. Now, my joke was always and I think you need distance when you write jokes about breakups because it was too serious. But I'd broken up with a girl. The 7 years.
Yeah.
And it's that year where I still think we're gonna get back together. There's no chance. I'm fucking crazy. And we had a cat, and I got the cat. It was my cat, and I said, "Oh no, she was watching the cat. It was her animal." But the point is, she calls me up. She's like, "Hey, what are you doing this Saturday?" So I get all excited. This really happened. And I'm like, nothing. It was New Year's Eve. She's like, what are you doing New Year's Eve? I'm like, nothing. Why? She's like, oh, good, because I have a date. And I was wondering if you'd mind watching the cat.
Oh.
And I said, I don't mind watching the cat as long as he's not spooked by my new handgun.
Oh God.
Nothing. The crowd's terrified of me. Terrified. They're like, is he serious? Did he shoot her? What's wrong? Because as much as I think I'm a comic, it's like, no, you're a hurt, terrified, angry man who will shoot someone.
Exactly.
Now, I want to know, do you have a joke like that? Every comic has a joke that they love.
I have two jokes like that, but one actually worked out.
You do.
One actually
Well,
worked.
you fixed
One I finally fixed.
This is great. I want to know the before and the after version of that joke.
Well, the before and the after version just never. I don't even know.
What was
It's
the
the
joke?
Tucson. It's actually the Tucson joke that I do. It's about how hot it was.
Okay. What was the joke when it didn't work?
Well, the joke when it didn't work was, I talk about how hot it is in Tucson, and kind of the final thing was, I'd watch the news every day and wait for him to go, and that was the news. And now for the weather, Satan, right?
Right.
But I would rush.
I'm laughing because I know that joke.
But I rushed through that part, so I would just say, and now for the news, Satan, or weather, Satan.
Right.
And that just didn't work.
Right.
It just fell flat. And I knew there was something there. And every 6 months or so, I would pull it out and I would try it again and be disappointed because for 2 weeks it just die a horrible death, that particular line, every single freaking time. So then I experimented. Then I thought, okay, so what I'll do is I'll use a callback. I'll put in my ex-wife's name or something, because I kind of shit on her, not really in a bad way, but
right.
Just that I have disdain for her a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I figure I'll try to call that doesn't work. So I go through all these things. So finally, I get to the point where I realize that I need to have a pause between and now for the weather, pause, Satan, so it gets a little better,
Right.
and then I finally figure out the key to the joke, which is I'm Satan's a setup. It's not the punchline, right? In my head, it was the punchline.
Right.
Okay? So then I go, and I'm expecting Lucifer to come on camera, horns and all, going, Jesus Christ, is it hot today? Which is a funny thing because
Yeah.
he's saying, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the joke that worked. The other one is a bit, and it's too long to even try to go
And
into
thank you
here.
so much, because I've asked that, but I love how you walked us through. That's how you craft a joke, people. It's like it always needs one more, or it's too much, or there's a rhythm in the rule, and that's exactly it. Like, you weren't giving them the punchline, and not only did you once you put the image in, you wrote a great line.
It was a good line.
It's a great line.
It's a good line,
It's,
and
it's squeaky clean. You could do it on air. It works at your early and late shows. You really took nothing and crafted it into a winner. That's what I'm
well,
saying.
I got lucky.
yeah,
it was a
you
good
did.
line.
You worked hard at it.
It's a good line. Now, the other bit I want to do, and I just can't help myself,
Right.
is I have a bit on the Ten Commandments. And the premise of which you know is
The
comedy.
last
death.
interview we did, we sat there saying, "Why would you ever talk about religion?"
Exactly,
Talking about
it's
our buddy
comedy
Beck.
death.
Why would you? Why would you?
Right, I'm talking to
So
you
I got
about
this
Becky
brilliant
O.
joke about the Ten Commandments.
Right, I'm talking to Becky. I'm talking about Becky O. Going, you're on
He's
Last
great,
Comic
he's
Standing.
great.
Fantastic comic,
Right.
funnier than shit.
Oh,
You know what? He's up there doing Catholic humor, and I'm thinking, I love this, but boy, that's stupid.
Yeah.
And in the back of my head, I'm looking in my book, going, I got this Ten Commandments
Right,
bit.
right.
Well, my whole premise on the bit is that the commandments are outdated,
Right.
and they need to be changed. And I've been working on that bit for 3 years,
Well,
and
what
I
is it
pull it
now?
out, huh?
What's the joke as of now?
The joke, it's too long. And that's the other problem.
Okay.
I haven't figured out a way. See, the way that I don't add jokes the way most guys do.
That
I
is
add
another
jokes.
question. Let's talk about it now. Like, because I write jokes, like, there's certain jokes, like, I write from being on air, because I do a lot of on air stuff. And
Right.
from my Geno's picks that I twist and tweak and roast jokes, I twist and tweak into my act. But for the most part, I have come, like, Vecchione sits and writes hours of jokes.
He writes the whole bit out,
And he
all
gets
everything.
exactly what he puts into it. He's amazing. He's been on the Tonight Show. You're going to see a ton more of him. And I
Right.
love talking about him because he's a friend of ours. But me, like, most of my jokes come up in conversation. They come up while I'm on stage, and I
Right.
add 3 bits, or I'll do a line about someone. I'll be like, "Oh my God!" I'll say to someone, "Write that down. I'm going to use that later." But what is your, and then we'll get back to this
Well-
Ten Commandment thing. What routine have you come into for crafting your set?
Well, my routine is I have to start small and expand. I got a bit about that I'm working on about dating, and how to me dating's like buying a car,
right.
right? And I only seem to be able to get the front and the back of it right. So that's what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm only because I put the middle in there every once in a while, or what I think should be the middle of it. Oh fuck, it's awful. It's like trudging through. It's like trudging over hot coals without having that whatever goes in your mind to not make it hurt. It's just awful.
Heroin.
What is that? What it is?
Yeah.
Because oh my
Ecstasy.
god, and the joke gets a huge laugh on the premise, and it gets a huge laugh on the finish. So basically, what I have to do is just do that, and then I only add a line, which kind of hurts me. A lot of guys think my act doesn't expand. They think that when I come in, that I'm doing the same thing every time, and I'm never adding things. Like when you hear, and anybody does this, probably you too. You hear me go, yeah, I went to a wedding last week, and then you shut off because you go, okay, I've heard the wedding bit.
Right.
Well, what you haven't heard is the extra 2 lines I put in since the last time.
Right.
Because even though I've been doing that bit for a long time, that bit started as 3 lines, basically 3 little jokes, right?
Yeah.
And now it's almost 5 minutes long.
Isn't that great?
And it'll continue to expand. It just, that's the way I do it. I shoehorn in. And so I got to go to the club manager, book, or whatever and they go, yeah, you haven't changed much. Really? Did you notice I didn't do this bit or this
they
bit
don't
or this
listen.
bit? Well, yeah, I noticed. What do you think I filled it with? Well, but I heard all the same things. Yeah, I know. But there's more in there.
I added an extra "Who's there" in all my knock
Exactly.
jokes, so it doubled the length.
Yeah, what I
knock,
did was
knock, who's there? What? Who's there? Oh, I'll be done in 3 hours, dude.
Exactly. I pause extra. And
Oh.
I drink more of my soda. That's what I do.
Your Hennessy. Did you finish the Canadian Club yet?
No, of course not. I still have probably 3/4 of the bottle.
I cannot begin to express to you. When you do that Monday morning spew next week, you're going to be crying for help, dude.
Really?
Oh, we're drinking so much in the
Oh, I
upcoming
don't
week.
think it's going to happen.
it's
You can talk all you want,
It's
but
going to
I
happen.
don't
dude.
think so.
It's going to happen. So yeah, I think that's like the best compliment to how you're getting more and more comfortable on stage, because we talk about it. Doing stand-up is like riding a unicycle. You get on stage and you just want your balance, you know, and then suddenly you can stand up, and then suddenly you can move, and then suddenly you can juggle, and then suddenly you can get off and get on whenever you want, and you have to get to that point where, and I think so many comics, myself included, and trust me, I'm by no means near the top, just has to give yourself permission to just flesh stuff out on stage, and that's how these bits that you're talking about, like your wedding bit, goes from 3 minutes to 5 minutes to you just adding to it, because you're comfortable to be in the moment on stage. You're not remembering your set on stage. You're talking about your set on stage.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and now I can make choices.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I couldn't really make choices. I had a plan, and I just had to stick with it. I remember listening to somebody on the radio after I first started, maybe I've been doing it about a year, and the guy said, well, I'm telling jokes in the beginning, and I'm thinking 9 or 10 jokes down the line.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself,
still
how
do that
the
to some
fuck
extent.
are you doing that?
Yeah.
That's what I couldn't fathom that because I was just in panic mode, full panic mode when I was on
Do
stage.
you have a ritual? Sorry to interrupt you, because this is one I have to, and I think I'm starting to think I'm really getting OCD. I have to write down my entire set before I go on stage, and do not misunderstand me.
Really?
I don't mean my entire set, but I have to write down as many jokes as I can think of, just so before, and put it in my pocket, just so before I go on stage, I know I'm not going to forget it. And you've seen my set. I never go in the same order, and I do need to work on a 10, 15-minute thing, but that's my little ritual before I go on stage, And I could be talking to someone while I do it. It's not like I'm like, everyone leave me alone. Like some people need space before they go on. I can be talking, but I'll just be like, all right, let me write this down, blah, 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 blah. I'll hear a comic do a joke. It'll remind me of a couple of mine, And do you have any ritual before you go on stage? Because I'm telling you, I hung out with you all week and I haven't seen,
No, I can't even remember my set.
Really?
I really don't even know my set.
Really? You
No.
just get up there and know it's going to be there.
I can, and because of that, I could be off stage for 3 to 4 weeks,
Right.
and still go out and just, in all fairness, I'd been on stage in a week on Friday night for a show when I'd been up,
Yeah, that's the...
and I just go up and it just comes to me. It's some kind of weird recall. Like if you were to ask me the particulars of a joke, I really can't give them to you.
Right.
I can
it's
if
a
I
whole
think
place
about
in-
it for a
right.
few minutes, but I really have to think about it. I couldn't tell you what bit follows which one, but yet there's still a logical order for them because I'm big on segues. I don't know. Do you think my segues are good? I think my act
I
flows
don't
very
notice
well.
your segues, so they're good. Cause
Yeah.
Because I'd be the one in the back room if you did a dumb segue going, ah!
Well, I think I have good segues.
You do.
And I think everything flows and has a logical progression. I've always believed if you really listen to a comedian, that you'll get their message. That there's something they're trying to say. There's a theme. Yours is I'm hurting, and everyone else has whatever, right?
Yours is I'll hurt you back. That's what yours
Yes,
is.
that's mine is. I liked your opening line about me, which you're gonna probably use in Reno too.
Oh, wait.
Which was
Bill Must is saving up for the tattoo on his neck that says, if you can read this, I'm probably raping
I
you.
laughed every night when I heard
But
that.
you know why? And we had a great opener. His name's Mike Williams out of Phoenix.
No, Kennedy.
Mike Kennedy, thank
Yeah,
you
it's
so much.
fantastic.
Great comic out of Phoenix, and I made fun of him too. I call him the Unabomber, but
Yeah.
but that's why. And I want to talk about this as we run down on time. How are we doing on time?
Yeah, we're at 56.
Yeah, okay, in 4 minutes. Mike was great. I made fun of him. I made
You
fun
can
of.
go a little long. It's okay.
It's about time you told me that, handsome.
Uh-huh.
But Mike was great, and you were great. And people always say, "Why?" Like I can't make fun of you after you get off stage if you bombed. People don't get that. Like they went nuts for the joke about you because you crushed so much up front. And the same with Mike Williams. When Mike Williams got off, I said, "Let's hear it for the Unabomber." And people don't get how, like, some people are like, how do you want the comics to do in front of you? I always want them to do great.
Absolutely, me too.
Because when other comics make fun of you, that's how well you did. If you bombed, trust me, people are going to be like, he's getting attacked. Oh, leave him alone. Oh, So I'm just saying, which leads me into, why do you think you do so well in Tucson and you don't think, because I think you're fine, as we head off to Reno, where so many people are going to come out and see you.
I have no idea.
I
I'm
think-
just never happy with my shows in Reno.
But you were happy with them in Tucson.
I was extremely happy with them in Tucson.
But Tucson
I was
is a
looking
full-
forward to you seeing me there because up till then you'd only see me in Reno, which I didn't feel was a good representation of me.
Oh, whatever.
You know what it is? I'm not very personable.
I
On
disagree.
stage, I don't think.
I disagree. I think, whatever you think you are, that's
Well,
what you
I'm just
become on
saying, I'm
stage.
kind of going out of my way to be a little bit of a prick on stage. I mean, you would agree with that,
Oh,
right?
I would, but the thing is...
But it's like see, you're a smart ass on stage,
But
right?
but when I
I'm-
go up, I'm like, watch, I'm the smart ass that people are going to hate themselves because they still love me.
That's exactly what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I've always told everybody, what I'm going for is I want a guy to look at me and go, I really think he's funny, but I wouldn't have him over for dinner. That's exactly what I'm going for. He's
No.
never coming to my house.
See, you need to change it to, I'm going to go up there, and I pointed out, people are going to be like, I hate that I'm laughing at this man, and I hate
Right.
that deep down I know he's right. But I'd love to have him over for dinner.
Oh, no, see, that I don't want that. Because I'm antisocial. If everybody could see all the pointing going on here with our hands flailing.
You're afraid to admit that you're a huge teddy bear. All right, before we wrap up, I just want to say, you've only had one other interview before.
Right.
Why?
Because I'm not the person that's interesting.
You are. You
I'm
are.
the people that I talk to are the ones that are interesting. Every once in a while, I can add a little nugget of experience that I've had or an opinion that I've got to maybe, support the show, so to speak.
Well, I want to thank you for letting me be the one to interview you, because as a fan, I said it, as a fan, and I'm not just saying that, it was really nice to get to know you, the guy that's digging in on all these people, and I really like, and it comes through that you do. You think of yourself as a comic who does a radio show, because we've seen too many radio show hosts who think they can be comics, and it's a disaster on both levels, okay?
It's not good.
So if I can tell your fans one thing, please, if you get the chance, come out to Reno, see Vilmos, go to his website. It's just Vilmos.com?
Yeah, it's VILMOS. Also, I got strangename.com. Did I ever tell you that?
I think it.
Yeah, strangename.com.
Really? Why? Because
Well, because it's easier to remember.
And because you think people will be like, what's this strange guy's name?
Yeah, strange. I used to have whatthehellwashisname.com. The problem is when you tell that to drunk people, they can't. They go, "What the fuck was his name.com? Why was that his name.com? What is it he said.com?" There's just too many variations of that. When you tell 200 drunk people it's strangename.com, they go, "Oh, strange name, strange name." Yeah, strange name. They remember that.
I think Vilmos. But see, in this way, people will remember Vilmos.
They do
might type-
remember Vilmos,
if
but
you
they
need
don't know how to
anything, you
spell
need to
it.
add VILMOSH.com.
Well, that'd be probably right, but there's a really good way to remember it. Just remember the Deer Hunter,
right.
and then remember Vilmos Sigmund.
If you-
Because, if you can spell Sigmund, eventually my name will come up.
If you're not sure, people. Look,
See how I did that?
the
I
three
took it and
people-
made it longer.
the 3 people that have listened the entire hour, I want to thank you.
Yeah.
If
And
you're having,
Craig in Canada has. He's a very nice guy.
Craig in Canada?
Craig Sherburne.
hey, Craig,
He's my Canadian listener.
Well,
And I
let-
love him. He's a wonderful man.
let me say
He's
this.
doing a podcast too now. He started.
really,
Yep, he did his first one. It was fantastic.
the podcast?
Yeah, it was 3 hours long. Well, no, he was very excited. They
He's
did
very
a good
confident.
job.
He's very confident.
They did a great job.
Well, where would I
No,
hear
it
that?
wasn't 3 hours long.
Where would I
It
hear
was-
that?
You know what? I don't have the address, and I shouldn't have brought it up if I didn't have the address.
But when
Craig,
you
I'm
put
very
this
sorry.
up, you're gonna link his thing in our
I will try to put in some something to link to it.
I don't know why I can't
But I
think
don't
of
know
that
if he
big
might
comedian.
want to have a few more under his belt before people go.
All right, well, people, let's wind it down. If you still forget his name, just Google the word nobody.
Exactly.
It'll pop up. It'll be
They'll
like
have my picture
it
too.
will say, "Are you sure you didn't mean Gino Bisconti?" Vilmos, 228 episodes of The Green Room.
Yeah.
Here's hoping I can come back for episode 456 and ask you some more.
That'd
It's
be
been an
nice.
absolute pleasure,
You're a
people.
wonderful man.
Once again, remember to listen to your comedy live. That's the way we like it. Daddy's got to go download porn. Thank you so much, Vilmos.